Okay, so let's dive right into spoilers. So, um, they kill off John Carter. They kill off John Carter. Like that's that. Oh my God, I was very upset with that. And I mean, that early in the film, if I'm upset about something, it's saying something. I was not expecting it. I mean, I was just like, "Where's John Carter?" Like all throughout the trailer, it was like, "Where is he? What happened?" And it does explain it. A Terminator does get so with time travel, it's super weird. Like, I mean, essentially, how they're doing this is a sequel of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. T3, Salvation, Genesis. How they're explaining those is they are alternate timelines. And honestly, I hope this one goes that same route because I don't want a trilogy based on this. This makes me sad. So they kill him off. So apparently, through some fixed point in time, um, Skynet sends multiple T-800s to hunt down and kill John Connor, just throughout time, throughout the 80s and the 90s, to kill him. And eventually they catch up with him while he's on vacation. He gets shot in the chest in front of his mom. And yeah, and she's just, and yeah, she just hates him forever, like after that. But she always gets these texts, with coordinates and a signature for John. And you find out that it's later on that it's Schwarzenegger sending Carl, as he is called here, sending him to sort of give meaning to her life. So he knows exactly where they're going to spawn, and she goes and she kills them as soon as they do. So Carl, so when you first meet him, I mean, clearly you can tell that he's getting older. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's what, like 73 at this point. Um, he still looks great though for a freaking 70-year-old. Holy crap, he's still built like a brick. Um, and apparently he has this family. Like she was like this woman was abused, and the boyfriend was threatening to kill her and her son. It's just like so because you're wondering like how the heck does he have a son? Like he's a robot, he can't procreate like that. And yeah, so but he essentially takes this family in. It's specifically stated it's not physical. It because she he changes diapers without complaint, and he's very funny. Like just his deadpan humor was just so great. He stole every time he was in a scene. He just stole it every time. All right, so going back on that. So yeah, Skynet was destroyed. Obviously T2, the chip that creates Skynet, yeah, is destroyed. And yeah, so there's no Skynet. It's now Legion. Fuck Legion. So yeah. Anyway, and so we go to Mexico, and so there's this girl Grace. She lives with her father, lives with her and her brother. And it's dealing things with like automation and like people losing their jobs, which it's one of those things that you would think like it is a strong political message, and there are a few of these interspace, but it makes sense in the context of the scene. I mean, her brother's about to be let go. It's yeah, I mean, there are a few messages like that within this movie. So if you are not a fan of that, just be warned. There are some political messages in here that may or may not piss you off. So that is definitely the earliest one right there. But yeah, so you have this Rev 9. So apparently it's the God, what I just called it, Legions. It's Legion's version of, the T-1000. It can change, but it requires, human contact to change. And it was just weird. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the character. I didn't think it was a very strong character. And the CGI kind of just pulled me out of it from time to time, especially in some of the fight scenes. But there was some good action with it. So it attacks in the warehouse, it was so weird with, Grace. Is it Grace? No, Danny. With Danny's character. I apologize. So obviously she goes from this, little girl who, works in a factory, and she's terrified. And like her brother gets killed, like when they escape after the Rev 9 first attacks them. Her brother gets killed, he's like the car's toast. It's a flame. He's probably, goodness knows what. She's like, I gotta go rescue. It's just like, no, go. There's freaking a robot trying to kill you. What are you doing? And from that, and then like at the end, she goes into this just like, I'm leader of the resistance, and there is a transition. But honestly, for this movie, she did not need to be that person, like, at all. She had freaking years to fall into that role and be built up. Like, I just didn't buy into the transition of how she got from point A, to point B, to where she, again, is just this little girl who works at a factory and is, confused, terrified, losing her family all over the place, to where it's just like, I'm going to make a stand. It's like, it just, like, the transition was there, but it just wasn't good enough for me. And again, once again, her role was completely overshadowed by Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll say that one more time. Like, so after the whole, said scene where her brother gets killed, Linda Hamilton comes out of nowhere with her freaking shotgun and her rocket propelled grenades, whatever. And that's where she says the line after he knocks it off the bridge, "I'll be back." And I love the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger also did a riff on that, saying, "I won't be back," to his family. So yeah, I did enjoy that. I did have a lot of fun just with how they played up certain references from the old ones. But I mean, once again, with Danny's, it's just like, you're at first, it's just like, oh, they're after you because of your womb. It's just like that. And this is one of those, again, kind of woke messages, like definitely a feminist message that didn't need to be. I felt it was a little too strong on the nose. It's just like, just for your womb. And then later it turns out it's just like, no, they're after you because you have a freaking brain. And it's just like, all right, come on. You made your point. We all saw it coming. Yeah, Danny was the leader of the resistance. Please stop. So that was the one that kind of was just like, this really didn't need to be there. You didn't need to like play the harp that loud about it. But they did. So that was something I wasn't exactly too big of a fan on. Oh my gosh. So, Future War stuff. I hate what they did to Future War stuff here. I am not a fan of it at all. once again, you think of future war stuff. If you are a Terminator fan, you think the blue hues, the blue lasers, uh, or purple lasers, whatever. Yeah, the purple lasers. Um, more than likely, and humans just being at a technological disadvantage over these things. You see obviously the T-800s. That's their frontline soldier. Skynet's frontline soldier. T-1000s. Those are more the assassination infiltration type. So you don't see a lot of that in the future war. I mean, I think there's maybe one or two in like Salvation and I think Genesis. But yeah, you don't see much. You see mostly the T-800 models. And then you see obviously the hunter killers, like the tanks and all that, and seeing the advanced technology humans have. It's just like, how have you gotten all this technology? I mean, in past Terminators, it's just like the only reason they probably have those technologies is because they repurpose them. Like, it is literally established that they borrow technology from fallen like Terminators, other technology, and they've backwards engineered it to use it. That's how they got that. These ones, it's just like they developed it on their own, and it's just like, how? Why? Oh my gosh. And no hunter killers, just these like flying sort of, I guess, helicopters, drones that fly through and tackle the. I mean, they have freaking. The humans have troop transports they have advanced armor, mostly kinetic weapons, which I'm just like, come on, I want my laser weapons. Come on. And then the part I really didn't like was like the whole, tiny drone thing, like, because when you do that sort of thing, that's a game over. You can't stop that when you have just hundreds of things that move so fast and literally in one explosion could blow up that whole carrier and all the troops that are lying within. It was so frustrating. So we see that, and Grace, who is the enhanced human that goes to protect Danny, you see like how she became enhanced. She gets injured in the initial explosion. She get up, she fights some more, and then she's attacked by Rev 9, and badly wounded. I think there's another explosion that goes off that also injures her a little bit. And like the Rev 9, like they don't really spawn, like they're just around. Like there's no spawning. They just happen to be there, and it's really weird. And what's funny is, you can fly, you can, do whatever. You can form weapons from your hands, and it's just like all they do is just you turn them into knives and go forward, because apparently you just can't kill. They're unkillable, and it's like, what? It was. I felt it was stupid. I felt it was dumb. It was stupid. I was not a fan of it. I didn't think that it was ominous. I mean, brutal, but it didn't have the same ominousness of like the T-800s, just the relentless numbers of these huge exoskeletons, or the T-1000s, because that was, intimidating just by way of like how much practical effects. I mean, you look at this movie, it required so much CGI, whereas if you look in T1 and T2, where you probably see both the T-800 and 1000 models at their best, it's very ominous. It is very ominous. and they used mostly practical effects for that. I mean, there were some CGI, but most of it was practical effects. And this was just CGI, and a lot of it was just done bad. And then other Future War stuff, it doesn't really go in, like, it goes with how the war started, everything just sort of shut off, then nukes were launched, and then the world was at war, and then people were starving. It doesn't really show too much of the war, which I was very upset about. I would love to see a Terminator movie that is literally based on the future war with freaking Skynet. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, just like Legion. But no, I want my Skynet back. So, yeah. What else is there to say? So, yeah, it's revealed during one of these scenes that, yes, Danny is the leader of the Resistance. And it's, like, done as this huge twist that it's just like, no, you saw this coming a mile away. I mean, don't kid yourself. And how she just, at the time she decided she was going to go in there with herself, told her soldiers not to follow her, try to get these three, other people off of this girl, the young Grace, because they're starving. And after a big long speech, I mean, it was a great speech, but I mean, just like, you're really expecting this. I mean, hunger is a huge motivator for doing terrible things. Hunger is an incredible motivator for doing terrible things. She, by all means, should have been shot, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's not. I'm looking into it too far. All right, so once again, the Rev 9. Holy crap. So back into modern times. So in the very beginning, when he comes to kill her, he turns his hand into a gun. And then you never see that again. It's just like there are multiple scenes where a gun would have been so nice for him to have. But he doesn't. He just does his little knife thing and turns his hand into a knife or two knives. And it's just like, I mean, I get why, but it just is so contrived. Like, that's the problem. When you establish that a character can do something and then you never go back to it, it just throws it off. It throws it off, and it threw me off big time, and I was definitely not a big fan of that. I was a little upset about that. And not to mention the CGI on him, it just looks so off, especially when he split into his like soft skin and his exoskeleton. It looked off. Like, I know what they were trying to do, and I appreciate again the ambition that they took to attempt to do it, but it just can't. On those parts, it just came off, and the CGI was just off, mostly for his character. Most of the other CGI was great. Like, the CGI they did to de-age, like Linda Hamilton and God, I forget his name, who played the actual original John Carter. Yeah, they de-aged him. But yeah, they looked great. I mean, there wasn't a lot of movement. It was a short scene, but it was really well shot, even though I was pissed off that they killed off John Carter. Why? Why would you do this? I don't know. Yeah, I was not happy. Not happy at all, and I'm going slightly off the rails because there's no one here to keep me in check. So that's kind of what you got to deal with here. Yeah, once again, it's like I was thoroughly entertained through this movie. Like, this movie was way better than I thought it would be as an action movie. But the liberties they took with like the lore and the faithfulness and everything, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. and it would piss me off if they literally made a trilogy based on this. And I mean, looking at its box office numbers, it probably won't get the numbers they need. It needs to, in order to break even. From what I'm reading, it's like $400 million, and so far they've only made 123.6 million. They haven't even broken even with the budget for the film. That's not counting advertising costs, which is way more, probably twice as much, if not almost 3 times as much. So, yeah, I'm not thinking this is going to be what they hoped. I had hoped this would be a send-off, or leading into something like a movie about the future war. Like, I would have totally been about that. But yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm very upset, and I want Skynet back, and I want John Carter back, because honestly, I just don't care about these new people anymore. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably not going to be in the next one. I mean, he may. Linda Hamilton, I don't know how big her role is going to be, but I literally don't care about Danny's character at this point, and I hope they don't go through it. All right, so back on the movie. We're kind of going all over the place. Once again, I kind of know the direction I want to guide this review, but I have no one to really sort of keep me on track, so I'm kind of bouncing a little bit. So anyway, so Carl, Schwarzenegger's character, he leaves his family. They need to try to corner and get kill the Rev 9, but they need to get some EMP bombs in order to do so. And this is another weird thing. The person who gets it, it's like a colonel. Yeah, it doesn't really explain who it is. I'm trying to find out who it is. Oh, Dean. Yeah, Major Dean. And it's just like, at first I thought it was the son I was hoping of. What's his name? The one who originally created Skynet. But yeah, you'll all know who I'm talking about if you're a Terminator fan. But no, it's just some random guy, and it's just like, how do you know this? And who are you? How do you know Sarah? Why are you doing treason? Any answering any of those questions would have been nice, but you don't. You get none of it, and it's super weird. It was very convoluted, it seemed like a tacked on element of the story. Okay, so they have to commandeer a plane. Oh, well, I mean, obviously there's a time where they cross the border, but okay, so. And again, this goes into the inconsistency of the Rev 9. It's just like when he goes and they're trying to cross the border, he hacks into one of the drones that U.S. uses to, look at the border, and those are some big freaking drones. They're almost jet sized. Those are huge, and he flies it, hacks it, and controls it, and flies it into the ground to try to kill Danny. It's just like, you can do all this stuff, just with a thought thing. But yeah, when this plane scene comes out, he obviously has to get onto a plane, and instead of like attempting to take control, like, I don't know, instead of attempting to take control, like, he flies his plane into it and then jumps onto it. It just the inconsistencies of this Rev 9. It's just like, what kind of, it just seemed like they didn't know where they're going with the lore, I guess, of what a Rev 9 can do. I mean, you literally look at the T800s, you know exactly what they can do. Everyone does. Anyone who's a fan knows what a T800 can do. Same with the T1000. You know exactly what they can do and what they need to be able to do it. With a Rev 9, the only thing that's really established that they actually keep on is that they can take on other people's appearance, but they need the touch, and the touch often kills, the person they're mimicking. And, but I mean, aside from that, again, in the very beginning, you see him turn his hand into a gun, a literal gun, and you never see that again, even though it would be so convenient in so many of those fight scenes. Again, you see him hack into a control panel and control a drone, and it like it just, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying him as this powerful threat, and it was kind of disappointing. That was one of the biggest disappointments, I think, was the Rev 9. One of the biggest disappointments for this movie. So anyway, so after the plane crashes, they get off. The EMP bombs, they're toast. They've been shot like 3 times. So they pretty much have to go. They go into this dam. There's a whole lot of just nonsense that goes on there. But essentially, this is where, she goes like, no, we're going to make our stand here. And it's just like, good for you, but I'm really not believing this character progression from Danny. And it was just super weird. But yeah, that's where they do make their stand, and they manage to destroy the liquid exoskeleton through some sort of generator. So all that's left is the exoskeleton. It mortally wounds Grace's character. And so she pretty much sacrifices herself. I mean, because she's got all these augments that she needs, I guess, a battery to operate. And so literally taking it out of her is a death sentence for her. It shuts down everything. So, but that's the only thing that could do an EMP spike that would effectively destroy the Rev 9. So, Danny, obviously cuts it out of her, takes it out. As I always say, Kali Mater. Kali Ma. And yeah, it just puts it and stabs it into Creature's eye. Carl, he was beaten to the point where he's deactivated. He comes back and holds him so she can actually plant it into his eye, and then he throws him into a pit where he gets impaled. He falls down with him, and then as he tries to escape and pull this thing out, the Rev 9, Carl reaches out, holds him down, and it's just like, for John. So I will say I'm glad they at least honored John Connor's memory through this, even though they killed him off, and I'm still upset about it. But yeah, so that blows them up. They both get killed, deactivated, whatever. And then, that's it, She starts her training to become the resistance leader at that point, and it's just like, so this is going to be a trilogy. I really don't want it to be. I really don't care. Oh my gosh, another thing I loved about this movie is like the development of Carl and Linda Hamilton's character. Oh my gosh, Sarah Connor. Um, so when they first, she immediately tries to blast him, and she stopped, but she keeps on trying to kill him. Like she takes a pistol, shoots him 3 times, is constantly like doing stuff that'll try to kill. So it was funny watching that, and then going from that to, at the end, she calls out, "Wake up, Carl!" When he was kind of deactivated, but when he makes his last effort to obviously hold the Rev 9 down, so she could plant the bomb and then throwing him over. And yeah, there was some emotion there. There was definite some emotion there, and I liked how they played off of each other. So that's pretty much my review of Terminator Dark Fate. Yeah, a dark fate indeed for the Terminator franchise, because I don't care to see any more of this. This is not what I wanted it to be, and I hope. I mean, this was a good action movie, but if you are a hardcore Terminator fan, this movie will piss you off. Guaranteed, this movie will piss you off, because it pissed me off. You have to turn off your brain, not be a fan, to actually enjoy this movie. And that's how I felt about it. So that's, again, turn off your brain, I'd give it a 7. Because it was a good movie. It was a very decent movie, and it was better than any other sequel, any movie since Terminator 2. But as a fan, yeah, it gets a 2. It gets a 2. It pissed me off, and fuck this timeline. I don't want this timeline to be played up anymore. I want my Skynet back. I want my freaking John Connor back. Yeah. So anyway, that is it for this review. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time on a Wrap Mark review. So, see ya.